What's going on, guys? Zach back with another video, and today I'm going to be comparing two of some of the most famous American EDC knives. And what might those be, you ask? Well, we're going to be talking about the Benchmade Bug Out, and we're going to pit it up against the Spyderco Para 3. And the purpose of the video today is going to be, a battle of two icons, the battle of two of some of the most popular, some of the most pocketed, some of the most bought EDC knives. The version of the Para 3 that I'm going with is going to be the Para 3 lightweight with the FRN scales, the BD1, the CTS BD1N steel. And then the Benchmade Bug Out is going to be just the S30V. This one does have upgraded scales, but I feel like this is going to be a pretty good comparison. So what we're going to do is talk about each one, how they handle, how they feel in the hand, how they carry, and then we'll move on to some real life use. We'll cut some cardboard, we'll do some of that, and we'll see, in my opinion, which one of these is going to be the better knife. And I haven't actually done this kind of test before, so let's just see how it goes. Since I have it in the hand, let's just start with the Benchmade Bug Out. The Benchmade Bug Out is going to be sort of your full-size knife. You have a 2.9 to 3 inch blade. Not sure, I think it's 3.5 inches on the handle. And yeah, pretty comfortable knife. Not really any hot spots. Gripping it, doing all of that. Just your stock standard knife. It's comfortable. With the aluminum, it seems a lot more durable than the FRN. But yeah, just in the hand, really, honestly, pretty comfortable. So let's move on to the Spyderco. How does it feel in the hand? And immediately off the bat, the Spyderco feels a lot better. It has a lot more curve in the handle, which kind of helps lock your hand in place, no matter if you're choked back or if you're using the choil and you're choking up. Using the choil is my favorite way to sort of handle the Para 3. And yeah, just the Spyderco feels better in the hand. And I'm going to try and come at this in a very unbiased sort of point of view. I am not the biggest fan of Benchmade, but I do want to give this a fair comparison. So as far as comfortability, I'm going to give it to the Para 3. And let's go pocketability. So in the pocket, how does the Benchmade carry? And honestly, with the stock Benchmade little shorty clip, the Bug Out carries really, really well. It's an extremely thin profile, not super wide on the body, and it's lightweight enough that you can carry this in basketball shorts, you can carry this just on the waistband, you can carry this anywhere, and you're really not gonna run into an issue. So that's the Bug Out. And then the Para 3, pocketability. Now this lightweight Para 3 does have the wire deep carry pocket clip, which I do prefer over the stock Spyderco spoon clip. I do think that the wire clip is a lot better, in my opinion, than that stock clip. But the issue that you run into when pocketing the Para 3 is just the profile on it. Now, if we put it side by side with the Benchmade, it's not a lot wider, but the little hump for the thumb hole completely hides the Bug Out on the backside. And so in this way, I'm gonna have to give pocketability to the Bug Out. Just for that reason alone, the Spyderco just takes up so much more space in the pocket when you want to throw it in the same pocket as your cell phone or the same pocket as whatever. It's just a lot wider and tends to not carry as well as a profile like the Bug Out. So we're kind of even right now. Comfortability in the hand, Spyderco. Comfortability in the pocket, Benchmade. Let's talk about price real fast, since we're pitting these two against each other. The Para 3 lightweight right now, I believe, is about $140-ish, somewhere in the $140, $160 price range for this exact configuration. and that is pretty solid. For the S45 G10 stock pair of threes, you're looking at closer to 185, 190, somewhere in that ballpark. And with the Benchmade, you're looking at the stock configuration of the S30V FRN handles for $180, which, y'all know me, that's a lot of money, especially when you're talking about a knife like the Bug Out. And in this specific configuration, adding a $60 pair of aluminum scales on there bumps that 180 to about 220, 240. So again, not a small price for the Bug Out. So as far as price goes, I'm gonna give it to the Spyderco, just because there are a lot of options. And if you don't want the S45 G10, you want just a bare bones pair of three, you want the profile without having the price, the lightweight offers that no problem. With the Benchmade, you're kind of stuck at that 180, unless you want to move up in price tier. In that case, you're going to look at, you know, $300-400 for an M. The one I think they just dropped is the aluminum Rich Light End S90V for what, 400. So right now, Spyderco's got a little bit of leg up on the Benchmade. Let's do some real life use. And I did just sharpen both of these. So both of these have the same exact edge. I'm gonna use a little bit of paper here, but you can see that the Benchmade, cutting no problem. Spyderco, also just no problem. It's just going through all of that really nice. So both of them have the same edge, and let's just start cutting some cardboard. I've got a box here, little box. Let's break this down. That's really what this test is. Let me know if you want to see another video of doing like a full-on head-to-head hard use video between the Spyderco and the Benchmade. I'd be more than happy to do that. But what this is really just seeing how these two knives cut against each other, because I have experience with both of these, but I do not have any experience putting them back to back to see which one I do like more. So we can actually see how these two knives fare. So as you can see, that was the box's fault. The Spyderco is just eating through this, no problem. Let's cut sideways. Not really any hang-ups, except for the box just being stupid. But as you can see, it's just tearing through without much of an issue. I'm gonna get halfway through this box, and then I'll switch over to the Bug Out. But yeah, I mean, it's Spyderco. It's Spyderco. You know what to expect from Spyderco. Super slicey geometry, and I knew that this one was gonna be really, really well suited for this. Now, let's move over to the Benchmade, see how this does. And with the Benchmade, I will say this really fast before we get too far into it. The Benchmade does have a significant more amount of cutting edge. Blade length, identical. But when you talk about cutting edge, because Spyderco puts that forward choil on there, you're looking at a good probably ½ inch of extra blade to use on the Benchmade. So I'm actually gonna give just an extra point to the Benchmade. So going into the cut test, both of the knives are completely even. So which of these knives is gonna cut through cardboard better? And honestly, right now, there's not a huge difference. And I will say that this is sort of, if you want to call it, unfair, because the Spyderco is a satin blade versus the Benchmade is the coated sort of Cerakote-ish type blade. So I will give a little bit of grace to the Benchmade. That's just too small to cut. I will give a little bit of grace to the Benchmade just for that reason. But using it right now, the Benchmade actually feels pretty nice. And yeah, you see, you get a good groove in here, and that was me, I think. Like it's doing pretty good. And honestly, if I'm being completely honest, during that little tiny cut test, I think the Benchmade actually fared the cardboard a little bit better than the Spyderco. Let me cut some more pieces here just to confirm that, because that kind of surprised me. I went into this thinking that the Spyderco was going to be a better cutter when it came to this kind of stuff, but I think I might have been wrong. Got a couple more pieces here, so let's just round off this test really fast. Okay, this is going to be, yeah, with the grain. Going in there. Caught a bad edge there. Okay, and then let's do one more smaller piece. I mean, as you can see, this Benchmade is just slicing right through the cardboard. So let's go back to the Pair 3 real fast, just for confirmation on this. And again, the Spyderco is sort of moving through this a little smoother, but again, I'm gonna attribute that to this being a satin blade and the Benchmade being a Cerakote blade. But man, yeah, they're no, the Spyderco's, I thought the Benchmade was kicking it a little bit, but yeah, the Spyderco, I've got to give that to the Spyderco, because let's talk about this for a second. Okay, let's do another paper test. I know that wasn't a lot, and these knives shouldn't have much, if any, blade wear on them after that small little whatever, but just for the sake of, you know, oh, hold on. Is that just residue on the blade? Let's clean that up. Let's try this again. Hold on now. Is this just me? This might just be me. Hold on now. Whoa. Okay. This, is it just the paper? Okay, yeah, that was just the paper. So cutting this paper, absolutely no, that was really weird. A little bit more sticky in certain spots, like right towards the middle of the blade. It is a little bit more sticky when it comes to just slicing through. Let's try out the Benchmade on this thinner paper. And is this going to be the same? Yeah, this is going to be about the same. Okay, let's again just try it on this thicker paper. Okay, yeah. So again, they're different steels, so I can't expect them to perform identical. But the S30V held up a lot better during that small little test. You see that the CTS, the BD1N on the Spyderco actually showed a lot of signs of wear. It was slicing through the paper before and it was getting hung up after what, half a box, versus the Benchmade really just kind of held its edge pretty well. Let's move over this way to get out of the sun. So again, different steels, different purposes. The BD1N is definitely a little bit less good than S30V for lack of better terms. But again, you can get a ton of different steel options for the Para 3. Like I have one in 10V that would probably kick the Benchmade's butt when it comes to outlasting the edge. But we're not talking about how long the edge lasts. Again, different steels, different edge stabilities, different edge retention. What we're talking about is just strictly use. And honestly, overall, I enjoyed using the Benchmade a little bit more, or not the Benchmade, the Spyderco. What am I talking about? I actually enjoyed using the Spyderco a little bit more. Again, it goes back to, it just is a lot more comfortable in the hand, and over long periods of time, that comes into a big play. You know, if you're cutting down, like I have here, all of these boxes, again, it's not a lot, but some of them have a lot of cardboard in them. Like if you're just, whoa, hello. If you're just talking about, you know, using this for a longer period of time, I actually think the Spyderco is gonna be better suited for longer extended use because of the way that the handle is shaped, the way it fits in the hand, and just the overall comfortability. It really does kind of just fit into your hand versus your hand fitting into the knife. So your hand sits in a very natural position when you're using the Para 3 versus the Benchmade. I think I like the added blade length, or the edge length when it comes to the bug out. However, it's a very thin profile, and over extended periods of time, there's just a lot less knife to hold on to, which means that your hands sort of get in this unnatural sort of position. And then on top of that, the edges are a little bit, they're a little rough on these scales. Again, the stock scales are gonna be a lot thinner, which even adds more to my point that it is gonna be a little bit more uncomfortable to use for an extended period of time. When you're talking, you know, you're going through 5, 6, 7 boxes trying to cut them all down, your hand's gonna get a lot more tired with the bug out. Even just over that last, what, 3, 4 minutes, my hand was already sort of getting a little bit uncomfortable using the bug out. So I think the bug out is gonna be a lot better suited for one, lighter duty use, you know, just slicing open boxes, cutting down the occasional box, opening packages, food prep, stuff like that, stuff you're not using for an extended period of time. My recommendation, if you're gonna pick up a bug out, look on some Facebook groups, look out on Blade Binge. I'm not sponsored, but I've sold and bought plenty of knives on Blade Binge, and it is a solid place to find EDC gear, knives, stuff like that for a decent price. So just, if you're on the lookout for a bug out, those places would be my recommendation. And then if you're wanting to pick up a Spyderco, again, either of these, they're gonna be users for you. So don't pay full price for anything, really, unless it's like a grail piece that you need brand new. But if you plan on using a knife anyway, don't be afraid to buy secondhand. I've bought plenty of knives secondhand. Most of my knives have come secondhand, including the bug out, including the Para 3. So don't be afraid to buy secondhand. And in fact, that is the best way that you're gonna get a good deal on something that might not be the best deal from the factory. bug out. But yeah, this was my experiment. Let me know if you want to see more of these head-to-head kind of things, or even a more in-depth sort of and then we fight video. I had a lot of fun making this, and if you want to see more of this, let me know down in the comments sort of what knives you want to see kind of pitted up against each other. Take a look back through my channel of the knives that I have, and I will pit whatever knife you want against whatever knife you want. Let me know down in the comments, and yeah, with all that said, I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.